Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is Friday, it is the live game preview of our Premier League fixture against Manchester United on Sunday afternoon at Old Trafford. Really big fixture for Everton Football Club, really tough fixture for both the football club, the players and Duncan Ferguson as well. A big test for Duncan Ferguson this, and I put that as the name of the team today because I think, it was absolutely fantastic, obviously, last Saturday seeing us go out there and put in such a strong, a good performance against a Chelsea side that are performing decent in the Premier League so far this season. Looking like that they're going to secure a top 4 position, and obviously Frank Lampard's performed really well since he's gone there, but Everton went out there last week and we were much the better team. The football was fantastic. There was passion, there was power, there was urgency, and there was that fight there that we've been missing for quite some time now, and that we missed under Marco Silva an awful lot, was that fight for us to go out there and not only play for the fans, not only play for the manager, but play for the shirt as well and play for the badge and go and put pride in your own performance. And we had that last week and we've massively missed that. But this is a whole new kettle of fish for me, this for Duncan Ferguson. It's a massive test because this is going to be a game against, like I said, another team that are really in form, another team that are, winning left, right and centre. Obviously beat Manchester City away from home last week in the Manchester derby, and a game away from home, which I think was always going to be a test for Duncan Ferguson. As much as we were happy about last week's performance and last week's result, and as much as we love to ride that wave for a bit, I think we all sat back after it and we went, you know what? It'll be really interesting to see how Duncan Ferguson does, away from home. It just so happens to be at Manchester United away from home. But it'll be interesting to see how the players perform as well when they haven't got the crowd, spurring them on. And obviously we'll see that on Sunday. I just want to talk about a couple of things before we go straight into the live team. Firstly, positive news off the back of yesterday's pretty dire general election, even though I'm not going to get into politics. Positive news, Everton have confirmed that they are going to... They're planning to submit the planning application on the 23rd of December. So they're going to submit that planning application to the council for Bramley Moor Docks, of course. So that's done and dusted before Christmas. And hopefully we'll find out early next year. Hopefully the positive news is that it's been accepted and we can get going with the planning of the stadium and obviously the building of the stadium as well. So that's some really positive news that have come out of Everton today. A couple of managerial things I want to talk about before we go into the preview, because once we go into the preview I just want to talk fully about the game on Sunday. The Liverpool Echo are reporting that both Everton have discussed a move for both Carlo Ancelotti and Mikel Arteta. Mikel Arteta is said to be under serious consideration for the job. However, a decision has not been made yet, and Carlo Ancelotti has also been discussed at length as well. So obviously, we talked about the Ancelotti stuff on Wednesday's live stream. We didn't really talk an awful lot about the Arteta stuff because there hadn't really been any solid rumours. However, the Echo coming out and saying that, Everton have discussed Mikel Arteta as a serious candidate for the job. He's under serious consideration, and we'll have to see how that one it develops in the next couple of days and weeks. But like we said on Wednesday, another manager that's been thrown in the hat. We'll get plenty more of them before we announce whoever is going to take over from Marco Silva. Anyway, getting into the preview, let me tweet this team out before we get any further into it so everybody knows that we are live. Alex says, yes, Cam. Yes, Alex, hope you're doing well. If you're watching, by the way, and you're enjoying, please do hit that like button. It means a massive amount to me. David says, tweet it out, Cam. I'm just about to now, mate. He also says, Mina fit. He has a doubt. He's a serious doubt, along with a couple of other players that we'll talk about in a second. And Max says, F the Tories. Yeah, I'm not going to get political because basically I don't want to. It's not about politics, this team. It's about Everton. It's about the game on Sunday. So we're not going to get political. We're just going to talk about the game and we're going to focus on what could be a really good week for Everton Football Club. And for me, if Duncan Ferguson goes out there and he can motivate these lads to go out and get a result on Sunday, whether that be a win, whether that be a draw, we can go out and we can go and get a result and we can put in a really good performance. And I think, Duncan Ferguson's only a couple of wins away from being having his name on this list as well, because it's going to be a tough fixture and it's going to be really interesting to see how he does. So anyway, let's talk about Duncan Ferguson. Let's talk about his pre-game press conference today. Duncan Ferguson said that basically we're going into this game with a wafer thin squad on Sunday. So we're going into a game at Old Trafford against Manchester United with Fabian Delph, Yerry Mina and Seamus Coleman, who are all doubts. They've done light training this week, however they are doubts. Luca Dean has trained for the first time today, so I highly doubt he'll play on Sunday. Theo Walcott is out for 2 weeks as well with an injury, and Morgan Schneider is out for 3 weeks with an injury. So that's already 3 players that played last week in the win against Chelsea that won't be involved, or 2 players that definitely won't be involved, and 1 that potentially won't be involved on the game on Sunday. So we've had to mix and match the starting 11 a little bit. We've had to change it about. So as you can see on the left hand side, I'll go through my predicted starting 11 now. I've gone for Jordan Pickford in goal. I've gone for a back line of Leighton Baines. Really, really good to see Leighton Baines come onto the pitch at Goodison Park last week. Obviously, get a little 5 or 10 minute cameo. I thought he actually done really, really well. He put in a couple of really good last ditch challenges last week, and although he didn't get an awful lot of time on the pitch, and although he didn't have an awful lot to do, what he had to do, he done really, really well. So Leighton Baines, who obviously will take the captaincy on the left-hand side. Then go for the back four of Mason Holgate, Yerry Mina and Jabril Sidibe. Now, obviously, Jabril Sidibe takes his own place. Seamus Coleman is out, likely to be out, and Jabril Sidibe was absolutely unbelievable last weekend against Chelsea, so there's no way he'd be taking out this squad. Similarly to Mason Holgate, we're not going to have Michael Keane and Yerry Mina in the same team, because they'd be absolutely unfair on Mason Holgate, who has been fantastic for the last couple of weeks, and again was really, really good last weekend. So Mason Holgate in there. Now I've gone for Yerry Mina. Now I've gone for Yerry Mina purely on the hope that he is fit. Listen, I think Michael Keane done okay last week. I thought in the last 15 to 20 minutes he started to come into his own, and he started to actually perform to the level that we needed him to perform at. But for the majority of the game, I think he was poor. He was getting caught underneath the ball. He didn't really know where he needed to be. His positioning was poor, and for me that's not good enough. And we can't afford to go to a ground like Old Trafford and play a team like Manchester United do a banging form at the minute with a front three of Martial and Rashford and Daniel James who are performing really, really well, and have a centre-back that is constantly getting caught in possession and is constantly getting caught under the ball, and his position is a little bit off. Like I said, I've gone with Yerry Mina through hope. Duncan Ferguson did say today that he is a doubt, and he's done light training. However, obviously, dissimilar to Luca Dean, who played on Saturday and was taken off injured. Yerry Mina's obviously had a week off. He's had a week to shake this injury. There's still no confirmation whether he will, whether he's a serious doubt or whether they're just gonna, wait for him and see how he does. But I suppose it's just a guessing game really. But I would like to hope that Yerry Mina is fit for this game, and I'd love to see Yerry Mina back into that starting 11 alongside Mason Holgate. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think Michael Keane was absolutely awful last week, but I think I just don't think he was as solid as he should be, and I think he could end up causing us a couple of issues if he's in the starting 11 on Sunday, especially if he's playing with that same sort of head that he had on in the first half against Chelsea. Going into the midfield now, this is where it gets wafer thin really, and this is where we haven't got much choice. I've gone for Gylfi Sigurdsson and Tom Davies as the 2 centre midfielders. Obviously Morgan Schneider out for 3 weeks. I actually thought Morgan Schneider played really, really well last week against Chelsea. I know that probably goes against what people would like to think or people would like to say, but I think Morgan Schneider and Gylfi Sigurdsson, they done what they needed to do on the ball. They were running around, they were making challenges, they were making sure that Chelsea were, weren't consoling coming forward. Although Chelsea's midfield was really, really good, they were getting involved and they were at least trying their absolute hardest. And that's all we ask as Evertonians, is that the players go out and they work their absolute bollocks off week in, week out, and that's what those two did last week. Obviously, it's took its toll on Morgan Schneider, and it just shows that, he obviously wasn't doing it under Marco Silva. I think a lot of the players weren't working their absolute bollocks off under Marco Silva, and that's why now, after one game with Duncan Ferguson, we're seeing Schneider out for 3 weeks, Walker's out for 2 weeks, Luca Dean obviously suffering an injury, so Morgan Schneider is out. So the midfield 2 I've gone for is Tom Davies and Gylfi Sigurdsson. I think it would be pretty shocking if it wasn't those two, purely because we've got nobody else, with Fabian Delph also still being a doubt and Jean-Philippe Gbamin obviously still out. I've gone for, on the left side, I've gone for Bernard. On the right side, I've gone for Alex Iwobi. Now, this could be interchanged, I suppose, and Iwobi on the left and Bernard on the right, sorry. Obviously, Theo Walcott now being out for a couple of weeks, it only leaves really 2 natural wingers, should we say, that could potentially play in this game. Obviously, Richarlison could be pushed out to one of the wings, and Moise Keane could come in up front, but that would mean taking Alex Iwobi out, or it would mean not putting Bernard back in. And for me, this is a game that I think Bernard would absolutely, I think he'd run right in, because it's a game against the back line of Manchester United. If he's playing on that left-hand side, he's going to be coming up against arguably one of the best right-backs in the league, and Adam Wan-Bissaka. But I think he'd have the pace against Adam Wan-Bissaka, and I think he'd have the skill to get past him. I don't really want to see a Dominic Calvert-Lewin on the wing or a Richarlison on the wing and somebody be taken out, when I think Richarlison performed really, really well up top with Dominic Calvert-Lewin last weekend, and I think it'd be important for Duncan Ferguson to keep those two up front together, because like I said, 3 goals last weekend against a side that are comfortably competing for the top 4, and all 3 of them come from the leading strikers. So for me, I've gone for Bernard on the left hand side, Alex Iwobi on the right again. Wasn't fantastic on the ball last weekend, but he created a load of space for himself. He created a load of space for everyone. And Alex Iwobi's the type of player that I think is going to frustrate a lot of Evertonians this season because, on the ball, his decision making could be better. His touch could be better, his passing ability could be better, but the space that he creates is simply, for me, too important to take out of this team. And yes, you could argue Richarlison could be on one of the wings and Moise Kean could start up front with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but for me, I think it's really important that we keep the same striking pair. And that is it. Obviously, Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison being up front. Dominic Calvert-Lewin was absolutely unbelievable last weekend, and I mean, it's probably the best game he's had in an Everton shirt, and for me, there's no reason as to why he should be taken out of this team when he's playing that way and when he's in that form. Obviously, 2 really, really good goals, worked his absolute bollocks off as well for 90 minutes, and similarly to Richarlison getting a really, really good header a couple of minutes in, but other than that, yes, he didn't get on the score sheet, yes, he didn't, provide much going forward, but defensively, his work rate was absolutely unbelievable, and I think that's what would miss if Moise Kean was to be in there and Richarlison was to be taken out. I think we'd miss that work rate, and we're going to massively need that on Sunday. This is a game that we're going to need to work our absolute bollocks off. Duncan Ferguson said in his pre-game press conference today that he'll be on the roof if we win there. Again, he was asked about the managerial role as well, and he said, listen, Everton need the best managers in world football, and for me, I'm happy to take charge at the minute while they're looking for those managers, but basically, I'm taking myself out of the running once one of those managers is found, and I think that's really important that, Duncan Ferguson's coming out and saying, listen, I'm here for I'm here for the club when when and if they want me, but I want us to go out and I want us to get the very, very best, and he obviously doesn't believe he's the very best at the minute, and that takes a real honest man to admit that. But listen, I think this is a big game. Someone said in the live comments, I'll get to the live comments in just a second, this is a game that we're going to have to show the same amount of commitment, we're going to have to show the same amount of energy, we're going to have to show the same amount of heart, we're going to have to show the same amount of passion. We're coming up against the Man United team who are in really, really good form at the minute. They're not only winning at home, they're winning away from home as well. And they're beating sides that have got unbelievable amounts of quality in them, like Manchester City, for example. Their front three, Daniel James, who's been an absolute steal, arguably the buy of the season, bargain of the season, £15 million coming in from Swansea. For me, he's an absolute quality young player. Martial is getting his feet as well. Marcus Rashford as well has found the net more often. So it's going to be a really, really tough game against the United side that'll be looking at Everton and going, right, okay, although they performed fantastically last week, was that potentially just a bounce back game, and was that potentially just the whole feeling of Duncan Ferguson being manager of Everton Football Club at Goodison Park? And it's important for me that Duncan Ferguson nails into the lads and himself that we go out there and we prove that it wasn't just a honeymoon game, it wasn't just a bounce back game for the players to prove themselves after what had been an absolute dire few weeks under Marco Silva, and to prove themselves that actually this manager can get them riled up for a game of football, whether it be at Goodison Park or whether it be away from home. And I think this is going to be a real big test for Duncan Ferguson. I'm actually looking forward to this game because I predicted we'd beat Chelsea last week, and I know a lot of Evertonians predicted we'd beat Chelsea last week, because that tends to happen in football. In football, you tend to lose a manager that the fans aren't happy with the manager. He tends to get the sack, and when an interim manager comes in and he's a legend of the club and there's that feel-good factor there, you genuinely see a better performance the week after, you genuinely see a win the week after. Look at Manchester United with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, for example. They sacked Jose Mourinho, who was I think a lot of Manchester United fans would say a toxin within their football club. They brought in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who was a club legend. He got some fantastic results. They put him on a permanent. He then had to struggle, a little bit of a time struggling, and now he's sort of, he's levelled it out a little bit now. But my point is that first game under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, they hit the ground running, and as most teams do. So now for me, it's really important that Everton and Duncan Ferguson go out and prove that wasn't on last week. It wasn't just a one-off honeymoon game, where it's different because it's at Goodison Park, and the fans are up for it, and there's that feel-good factor, and the players want to prove that they can put in a decent performance when told to. I read a really interesting rumour, potentially just a rumour, could be a load of shit last week, that there was no shouting allowed in the dressing room when Marco Silva was manager, and I know full well that won't be the case under Duncan Ferguson. So it'll be really interesting to see how the lads perform. It'll be really interesting to see the lads' reaction to, again, like I said, a game that's not at home, a game where Yes, there will be an awful lot of Evertonians because Everton's away support is absolutely unbelievable, but there won't be the same amount of Evertonians as there was last week at Goodison, obviously, because it's not a home game, and it'll be interesting to see the level of performance that the lads put in, if they're pressing as high as they were last week, if there's constant pressing, if Manchester United's midfield can't get a second on the ball without our players getting in their faces, if Dominic Calvert-Lewin's working his bollocks off from minute 1 to the last minute of the game. It'll be really, really interesting to see if we put in a similar performance, and it'll be interesting to see how Duncan Ferguson manages this game as well, because we've seen a lot of things over the last week on Twitter, and I obviously done the live stream on Wednesday. If you haven't checked it out, please do go and check that out. I talked through all of the managerial candidates, and despite the fact I didn't really talk an awful lot about Duncan Ferguson because I didn't want to, purely because A, he'd only been in charge for one game, and B, I think he's taken himself out the running to be the permanent Everton manager, so I didn't really mention him. I spoke about the likes of Mikel Arteta, Carlo Ancelotti, David Moyes, etc. And, the comments was pretty much full of, why not give it to Big Dunk? Why not give it to Big Dunk? Big Dunk, Big Dunk, Big Dunk. So, for me, I wasn't jumping on that just yet, because I understand it's one game, and I understand it's a game that, we were likely to bounce back in, because that tends to what happens in football. But if Duncan Ferguson goes out and can rile his team up to stand up to Manchester United and go and get a result, and if we go out and we get a 3 points against Manchester United, then he's still in charge against Leicester next week for the Carabao Cup, and we get a win there as well. I said when he first took over, if Duncan Ferguson can get 3 wins against Leicester, Manchester United and Chelsea, he needs to be in serious consideration for this job. But that's the thing, isn't it? Before we jump at give it to Big Duncan, before we jump at saying he's good enough for the job, let's see how we perform away from home against the team that are banging form, and against the team that are notoriously tough to go away to, obviously with the stadium being the biggest stadium in England. And the history of that football club. Let's see how the players cope, and let's see how Duncan Ferguson coped. He loved the game against Manchester United when he was a player. Let's see if he loves the game against Manchester United as a manager. It'll be really, really interesting to see how we line up, and it'll be really, really interesting to see how he takes on the pressure. Anyway, let's start back into the live comments. Dugout Football Channel says, who do you want as the new manager? I want Carlo Ancelotti personally. I did like the feeling of Mikel Arteta in there with Cahill as his number 2 and Ferguson as the number 3, or Ferguson as the number 2 and Cahill as the number 3. Obviously it screams Everton, and at the minute maybe we just need some a group of people managing this team that scream Everton, and that know what it means to put that shirt on, and know what it means to go out there and play for the badge, and can resonate that with the current playing staff, who obviously had that drilled into them last week, and that was shown on the pitch. But it's hard to turn down somebody like Carlo Ancelotti, who obviously his CV speaks for himself. Max says score prediction. I'm gonna go 2-2. I'm going to be optimistic. I think we're going to struggle to get a win, purely because of the form Manchester United are in, and purely because of the thinness of our squad, obviously with injuries, which is always the case at this time of year, because we get absolutely shafted with the fixtures. But I'm going to go with an optimistic 2-2. Duncan says, hello Carbolo, mate, hope you're doing well. Right decision, don't talk about politics. Some EFC channels doing that mistake. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about politics. I don't understand it, and I just don't want to talk about it. Basically, it's nothing to do with Everton, is it? She says, give it Duncan till after Christmas, come on you Blues, fair enough. David says, politics are divisive like Schneidlin. Wayne says, Keane is always awful, mate. Wayne also says, good team that needs sort of same level of commitment. We do. Eugene says, Everton will take 3 points this Sunday afternoon against Manchester United. Full time 3-1, the same score as Chelsea last weekend. I do hope so, mate. Chimney says, Arteta and Big Dunk managers would work. It definitely bring that feeling of Everton. And then listen, if Duncan Ferguson can get these players up for going out to, against Manchester United at Old Trafford on Sunday and getting a win via that feeling of Everton, and via those simple basic tactics that we spoke about in the game review of the Chelsea game, going out and making them play a 4-4-2, making them fight and challenge for every ball and press forward in numbers with pace, purely basic stuff that you learn at Sunday League level. If Duncan Ferguson could go out and get a win away against Manchester United with those tactics, then I think it would be only fair to say, actually, maybe Duncan Ferguson with somebody like Tim Cahill, somebody like Arteta, might work. But if we go out there and we get absolutely thrashed on Sunday, and it, the tactical sort of weaknesses of Duncan Ferguson, let's say, start to show because he hasn't had that experience, then I think we'll be having this conversation differently, obviously, come Monday night. Eric says, I love Baines, don't get me wrong, but his legs are gone. Daniel James is one of the fastest in the league. Baines won't be able to stop him. That really worries me. Fair enough. However, if Luca Dean's out injured, there's only Leighton Baines that's going to come in, isn't he? So I suppose we'll have to wait and see on that one. Eric says, is Mina fit? I hope so. I've purely gone for a guess. and I've gone for the hope, really, but I would like to hope so. David says, I like your belief, Eugene, can't see it myself. The Dugout Football channel says, United seem to start games really slowly at Old Trafford. If Everton get an early goal, could quiet the crowd and make them tense. Definitely. Eric says, why not Iwobi and Richarlison on the wings and then DCL and Keane up front? We would really hurt them with the thought of Keane, Iwobi, Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I wouldn't mind seeing that. I'd just quite like to see... Well, I'd like to see two things. I'd like to see Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison up front together again, because I think they performed fantastically last week. And I would like to see Bernard back in the team, because I think Bernard was performing fantastically before he went out injured. Arguably one of our best performers, along with Yerry Mina, and obviously he went out injured, and he hasn't had that opportunity since he's come back, and I really think Bernard could hurt Manchester United. Megan says, alright lad, I'm Megan. Terry says, I think Bernard hasn't been back long, so maybe Richie on the right and Keane up top with DCL. I'd take that. And Abigail says, we need to keep Martial, Greenwood, James and Rashford quiet. We do. We need to understand that. Again, this is going to be another game where Man United are probably going to have a lot of the ball. They're going to be breaking forward, and they're going to be trying to, you put us on the back foot, and we need to soak that up defensively, and we need to make sure that we're very strong defensively, and that when we're getting our opportunities going forward, we're taking them, because that's something we were massively critical of with Marco Silva whilst he was manager of Everton Football Club, is that we weren't clinical enough, we weren't taking the opportunities we were creating. However, one thing you can say about Duncan Ferguson's Everton last week is that, when we created opportunities, we definitely took them, and we need to do the same against Manchester United. David says, full of joy, aren't you, Abigail? Yes, she is. Anyway, that's going to do it for today's live stream. If you have enjoyed, please do hit that like button. It means a massive amount to me. Don't forget to join me on Sunday for the instant match reaction. Of course, it'll be straight after the game, and then we'll have the live game review on Monday night, and then it's all systems go next week. We've got a live stream every single day, obviously playing Manchester United, playing Leicester as well in the Carabao Cup quarter final on the Wednesday, and then I think we've got Arsenal at the weekend. So it's all systems go next week. A live stream every single day. But for now, big thanks to everybody for watching today's live stream. If you have enjoyed, please do hit that like button. If you're watching the live comments and you've been getting involved, a big thanks for getting involved as per usual. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to leave your comments in the comment section down below, and I'll be getting involved with as many of them as possible. Like I said, a big game for Everton Football Club at the weekend. A big opportunity for Duncan Ferguson to go out there and prove to a lot of us, including myself, and say, listen, I can't only do this at Goodison Park, I can do this in one of the toughest, well, if not the toughest ground in England, and I can rally these players up to go out and play for that badge. And if he does, I'll seriously sit back and go, you know what, maybe Duncan Ferguson has to be in this list as well, because not many Everton managers can go to Old Trafford and win convincingly. So let's see. I'm not saying that we're going to win convincingly, by the way, but let's see how it goes. Anyway, big thanks to everybody for watching. Please do hit that like button if you have enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new as well. It only takes a second. We're going to have loads of really good content coming out. I'm going to get as many people involved in the new year as well. We've got loads of things planned going into the new year. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're new, and stay subscribed if you are currently subscribed. I really do appreciate all of the support. Like I said, I'll be back on Sunday for the instant match reacting to this game. Hopefully it's a positive one. Wayne says, have a good weekend. Hopefully get a result. You too, mate. And yes, hopefully. And Kev says, keep Duncan as manager and sell the rest of the team cheap. Maybe. If only that was feasible. But it's not. Anyway, big thanks for watching. Please do hit that like button if you have enjoyed the stream. Subscribe if you're new. Thanks to everybody for getting involved in the live comments. Abigail says, I think we can win, but yeah, hopefully we can win. I think we can win. We just need to go out there and put in a similar, if not better, performance than we did on Saturday against Chelsea. Big thanks for watching. Hit that like button if you have enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.